So, hi everyone, I'm Kirsten Winkler of kirstenwinkler.com, and today I got questions for Jeffrey McManus of CodeLesson. Jeffrey, then what's your first take, or what would you say when somebody told you we are coming into an age where programming is the new literacy? What do you answer?
I think that's legitimate. So I have an interesting take on that because in my undergrad years I was a literature. And so I think that there's a place in the world for literature, and there's a different place in the world for coding, and it's definitely part of a well-rounded person's and this is true today, and it will be increasingly true in the future. That technical literacy will be the part of any well-rounded person's general literacy, and I believe that starting today and moving into the future, people who are in non-technical elements of professional life will need to have technical skills, at least basic technical skills, and that employers will no longer be able to accept having people who are totally non-technical. I think historically has been a divide between technical and non-technical people, and I think that 5 years from now we'll look back on that and say, how was that ever allowed to happen? Because I think that having non-technical people manage technical people, for example, is not optimal. Having product managers, for example, who are not technical, very not optimal, and that we can fix that, and it isn't a mystery as to how to get those two camps to cross-pollinate.
I saw in CodeLesson when you finish a course, you get a badge. So there is sort of a system. Is it, in your opinion, rewards, or is it also for employers or maybe potential employers to show one's ability to what they have achieved, as there is a big discussion going on that the standard evaluation systems we have are not sufficient because they simply don't apply to programming, and what is maybe a way to revolutionize or maybe disrupt that?
Right. So we think that for one thing, that we have profile CodeLesson where you complete a course and you have we're now referring to those as certifications, actually. So. And the reason why we changed the name recently was to reflect the fact that the badge that you have profile cannot be achieved by accident, like gamification types of schemes, right? So with a CodeLesson badge, meaning that you have to actually do quite a bit of work, actually, to be able to get the CodeLesson badge. Awarding of badges is at the discretion of instructors, and instructors will only award a badge if the student has completed the work in the course satisfactorily. So that we feel is very. I feel like once CodeLesson's recognition gets out in the world a little bit more, having the badge in YZ will become more and more meaningful. And we've done a few things to facilitate that. Well, there is the profile where a student can show the courses that they completed very easily, both to their employers, but also to the world, and that's, I think, pretty important. We also have an API for our the badges that exist on our site, the certifications, so that another site wanted to take the information about a particular student's badge and repost it somewhere else, they would be able to do that if they had the appropriate credentials student. So we envision that at some point the ability to will become federated, and we would hope that LinkedIn, for example, would give professionals the ability to display their certifications on their LinkedIn profile. We've had people ask for that already. LinkedIn is aware that people want that, are others badges as well, and so it's hopefully them just making that sort of feature happen. I think it would provide enormous value, and it would increase also the value of profile, but it can be done with any kind of profile anywhere. API for that is open.
I have recently heard about a a startup called GeekList, who basically said, so we are developers ourselves, so we know about the problems, and therefore we build our own list or system that basically shows one's capacities and abilities to do so. Although, as you say, LinkedIn may have even the bigger impact. On the other hand, I watched an interesting interview with was it Chris Sarker and Kevin Rose, and they basically both stated that in the Valley you are in I guess they said in a nice space where diploma or degree or certificate doesn't say anything. You had to prove that you can code something, and that is what counts. Where is your opinion? Is it in the middle, or do you tend to go on one or the other side?
Yeah, somewhere in the middle. I think that I haven't finished graduate school yet. I did a year master's in computer science, and I did that year mostly to see how the curriculum was delivered as preparation for doing CodeLesson, actually. And it was not unexpected. I got a lot of interesting information about and systems architecture and things like that. It was useful. But would I hire someone coming out of the master's program that I was just by virtue of the fact that I had a master's degree? No. I do need to know that they can actually do things. And there were people in my master's classes who had struggled with coding, and you could tell that it was they hadn't done much of it before. So there's very little that you can train that will give you coding expertise other than coding. Reading about coding doesn't really do it. Watching videos about coding doesn't really do it. Having code to write, and even better, having a mentor and instructor who can evaluate the work that you've done, steer you in the right direction, give you suggestions next. We find that to be really helpful. And these are unfortunately not the kinds of things that computer science students, I think, are getting. Some may be, but not all of them, clearly. And I definitely would agree with the idea that just a computer science degree is sufficient.
Would you then say that, unfortunately, our education system and how it is built will never be able to catch up with being on the cutting edge and being hands-on and knowing how to code, because it is just too theoretical? On the other hand, we see that universities of course getting more and more interested, partly because I think they have to, getting more interested in maybe evaluating at least possibilities of having something online. But do you think, or would you say that you need an extra company like CodeLesson, and this cannot be done from the university itself because they are too much in their curriculum and it's not innovative enough or not fast enough that it can be adapted to what is needed?
Yeah. The thing is, never is a very long time. So I've been to the university maybe in the long run. But the question is whether universities will be able to adapt to what students are looking for and what employers are looking for before parents who pay for school, who pay for universities, at least in the United States, begin to reflect about the value they're seeing or beginning to happen. I have a 10-year-old. In 8 years, I'm going to have to start paying for university. I hope that her university 5 times as expensive as the university is today, but it seems likely that it would. At the time she turns 18, we're going to be faced with a very, serious choice. If she goes to a computer science program, we'll be, out of that in a good position to be able to get a job, but more importantly, to be able to do anything that is useful, right? And again, I don't want to really put this off on university computer science programs because I know they're all different. I know they have value and so forth, but I definitely think that in universities in general, I think particularly in American universities, strong bias against practical type of learning. And I also think that because of the way that universities are set up, there is a bias against the new things tend to get out very often. The idea that we want to wait a few years, and so what we have are most computer science programs, 2 languages that are 20 years old, Java, C. Totally useful, great, but it may not be the most valuable thing in the world, especially when you're looking for a job when you're getting out of college. We are part of the education system, though. That's the thing. We're not a university. We're not a public institution. We're a private company. But at the same time, we're part of the system. It's definitely the case in lots of countries that there are all kinds of private institutions that augment what is offered in the university system and in the K through 12 system. And we're just another factor that as we demonstrate our ability to be agile, we increase our ability to working technical professionals with other people who are interested in learning, whether they're university students or other professionals. That will be the core of our business, and that will be something that I believe that universities will have a hard time emulating, as universities is generally just culturally not open to that in general.
Last question. Let's speak of an ideal scenario and say everybody is open. And how would you design a new educational measuring system? As you said, you come from outside. However, I think the things you teach when I take a CodeLesson course are highly valuable also to university students. How do we maybe have to think and modify, or how can we innovate or even disrupt the measuring system? What should be accepted or what should be integrated?
So measuring educational outcomes and educational successes in our world is actually pretty easy. With code, it's nice because it either works or it doesn't, right? So if you exercise and I say, turn this in by Wednesday, and I look at it and that's it, 100%. Have a big discussion because you did it, right? And in my world, in CodeLesson, our code examples and our code exercises tend to be very small, very granular. They tend to focus on one concept at a time. We do big projects occasionally, but for the most part, try and reinforce that went on that trial. The student can demonstrate proficiency in the half a dozen topics that are being conveyed in the class that week. That's really it. There isn't a lot to how we evaluate students. It's in a lot of ways it's kind of pretty true in the sense that we give instructors a lot of latitude in terms of how they evaluate. Some instructors who even use more of a Montessori where all they do is give written feedback and they don't even want any kind of numeric ranking or anything like that. And so everybody 100%, you're good to go. As long as they know what they did and they know what they did wrong and you're giving them good feedback, it takes a little bit more time. It's so much more valuable and they're willing to pay for that extra time getting a little bit of to an expert, and that's absolutely what we're there to offer.
Great. Thank you so much for, again, giving me of your time, and that was very insightful, Jeffrey. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Kirsten.